You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
It's only a kick, a jump, a block. It's only a serve. It's only a tackle, a run. It's only for the fans. After all, it's only pressure. You got this. Adidas.
I'm Alex Rodriguez.
And I'm Jason Kelly.
From Bloomberg, this is The Deal. Each week, you'll hear us in conversation with business icons.
This show will explore deal-making across sports, media, and entertainment.
That is a harsh lesson in business.
Sports is not as simple as bringing a bunch of big names together.
I didn't want to do another stomp you out speech.
It opened up so many more doors.
The show is called The Deal.
Listen to The Deal.
Listen to The Deal on Spotify.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. Well, why don't we get started with this? I'm a little bit excited. Somewhat out of left field. Maybe a little bit unfair. I don't really care. I've been picking on the Bears a lot, which, nothing wrong with that. Obviously, it's well-deserved. And I've kind of picked up the pace on the Lions a little bit, which I'm happy about. I've been struggling with the Vikings. And maybe my problem is I'm just not digging deep enough, because every fan base has got those group of people that are just going to run their mouth no matter what. Whether that's the core of the fan base or not, there's going to be a group of people, and they're all going to be on social media, and they're going to be the loudest people, so they shouldn't be that hard to find, that are just going to say stuff, that are going to make you look at it and go, really? You want to do this right now? You want to play this stupid game? Okay. So I saw this come across social media. Certainly know who these people are. We've showcased them on the show several times. Obviously, we've done a lot of laughing at the enemies. We've showcased a ton of podcasts and everything else. And of course, very appreciative of them and the work that they do to be able to help make this show all that much more entertaining. But anyways, I just happened to come across this. So the Minnesota Vikings posted something. And look, it's the offseason. We're doing it too. I can't get super mad. Some of the stuff people are saying, you look at it and you roll your eyes, and then you think about it and you're like, nah, we're kind of doing that too. You know, you see guys running routes and you're like, dang, look at that speed. Every other team that does that, it's like, you guys are morons. But anyways, the Vikings just put a little montage that says their first NFL practice in the books. I mean, it's nothing crazy. I'm just saying it's just, you know, it's all hype stuff, and you should be excited. You should be super jacked. And especially if you're, you know, the Bears or Vikings, you've got brand new quarterbacks to get excited about. I know if we had a quarterback that we had just drafted, you know, less than a month ago, I would absolutely be gushing over every single throw. But anyways, that was quote tweeted, and I didn't even really read hardly any of it before I said, oh, I found it. It's what I've been waiting for forever. It's Purple FTW Podcast. Now, I will say, of all the Vikings podcasters, and again, a lot of them tend to be sort of pessimistic or somewhat this or that or whatever, Purple FTW is, I would say, as far as the Vikings content creators that I'm aware of, a little bit further to the side of irrationally pro and also very much going for the throw to Packer fans. So this is probably my realm right now when I'm looking for content for the Minnesota Vikings is Purple FTW, which stands for the win, if you didn't know. The only other thing I know a lot about this particular creator is he was also very, very heavily on the side of the pro Kirk Cousins camp, which was a very divided camp. But now all fans are united under the banner of J.J. McCarthy, at least as far as I know. I don't know why you wouldn't be, to be honest. But the reason it caught my eye immediately, before we even get into his bullet points, is it says, honestly, the most hyped I've been for a Vikings team in some time. And it's like, you know, I don't want to be unfair here, because everybody should be somewhat excited. But looking at it through the perspective of being a Packer fan, I'm not sure there's ever been a Vikings team that I'm less scared of. Certainly since I've started this podcast. There just has never been one. There's never been a less relevant Vikings team. I'm not going to say in my lifetime because I know there's been terrible Vikings teams. I don't recall. I mean, let's just look over the span of this podcast. We've had Kirk Cousins with at least one elite wide receiver, whether that be Stephon Diggs or Justin Jefferson. They've had Dalvin Cook, who I always said was overrated, but was still a really solid running back. And I would probably say more than 50% of these Vikings teams have had really scary defenses. This is probably the worst defense, the worst quarterback situation that I've seen. And I can't think of anything that I would expect to be better. Now, if you're saying you're excited for the future, okay, I guess. I don't know that that's really necessarily justified. I mean, if you're very anti-Kirk Cousins, okay, fine. If you're one of those people that sees Cousins as a guy that's like, he's good, but he's never going to get you there, and it's like, okay, now we can finally get, but we're so far away from that. I mean, at the very least, we the first and foremost, I mean, we don't even know we have the right coach. I mean, he's done some cool stuff, but it's obviously been a disaster too. Not really sure we got it there. The GM, I mean, does anybody really like Kwesi all that much? I don't think Vikings fans do at this point. At least he's unproven. I can't think of anybody that would be super excited about the guy. I mean, it's just can we at least establish that we have a quarterback? And then even if you do, I mean, you look at where the Packers are at. We all feel very confident that we have not just a capable quarterback, but a guy that's actually really scary good. I have no idea if we should be excited. I don't know about our defense. I don't know if we have. I don't know if we have the makings. I don't know enough. And maybe it's just because we're the Packers, and it's like we've always been this really good team. But I don't know if we're going to get over the hump. You guys have not even gotten to like phase 1. All we know about you is that you suck a lot. And if a lot of things change, then maybe you won't suck as much. But even that doesn't mean like Super Bowl or anything. So so that's kind of my. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, what are you excited about? Here are the bullet points. Number 1, young superstars and future superstars at key positions. So there's a lot wrong with this. One of them, we don't even need to look at anything. You don't have to have ever watched a snap of football to be able to identify one of the issues with this first bullet point, right? Young superstars, we got to dig into that a little bit. And then adding at key positions, you'd have to look into that. But future superstars? Come on, man. Come on, man. What do you even mean, future superstars? How do you define a future superstar? If you're going to start off the reason, because that's how I'm reading this, I am looking at a defense of why I, as a Packer fan, should acknowledge that Vikings fans should be hyped, right? They should be very excited. In fact, more excited than they've been in quote unquote some time, whatever that means. You can't put future superstars in your bullet point, buddy. That doesn't even make sense. A future superstar, by definition, is somebody who is not a superstar. And unless there's some metric by which you can identify which players will and will not be superstars, in which case, boy, oh boy, I feel like GMs have been doing it wrong all along. Screw this draft and develop stuff. Just grab the superstars, will you? For crying out loud. How do you have a bust in the first round? I don't get it. Just take the superstars. You know, the future superstars, obviously. Come on, it's complete nonsense. We're gonna kick this thing off with nonsense like that. Future superstars. Let's expand this out to the point in which we identify the fact that we're using the term superstar very loosely. I mean, if we just think like, what does superstar even mean? We can start by identifying that it's something significantly better than being a star. It's not just a star, it's a superstar, right? Like a hero is somebody that saves a kid from a burning building. A superhero is somebody that can explode comets with friggin' laser beams from his eyeballs, right? Pretty big gap. there between, the two things based on the word super. Kind of kidding, but I mean, let's start there. Just for fun, I asked the robot, how would I identify a superstar in the NFL? Here's 7 points that the robot came up with. Number 1, statistical performance. Consistently high levels of production in key statistical categories relevant to the position. Number 2, individual accolades. Winning prestigious awards such as MVP, Offensive or Defensive Player of the Year, All-Pro, Pro Bowls. Team success, contributing significantly to their team's success, such as leading them to playoff appearances, division titles, and Super Bowl victories. Number 4, durability and longevity, maintaining a high level of performance over an extended period, demonstrating consistency and resilience. Can we just pause real quick and go back to the future superstars thing? Crying out loud. Superstar is somebody that's done something successfully for a long time. A future superstar is somebody who hasn't done jack squat ever. Impact in the game, revolutionizing their position, forcing opposing teams to alter their game plans or consistently perform in clutch situations. Number 6, marketability and popularity, having a strong personal brand, endorsement deals, and a large fan following, transcending the sport and becoming a household name. So, like, my wife, who doesn't watch football, would know who this person is. Legacy and influence is the final one, leaving a lasting impact on the sport, being considered among the all-time greats at their position and influencing future generations of players. So, how many young superstars... Which, by the way, I don't know if there's such a thing as a young superstar to begin with. But leaving that aside, let's just say how many superstars are on the team, period. Let's see. Quarterback? No, J.J. McCarthy is not. Aaron Jones? Honestly, probably not. A star? Sure. Hawkinson? No. Addison? No. Justin Jefferson? Probably. I mean, you talk about consistency. He's been a top 5 wide receiver every year, including his rookie year. I mean, by the strictest standards of the robot, maybe not. But I'll give him Justin Jefferson. Darisaw? I don't think so. O'Neal? No. Anybody along the offensive line? No. I mean, I could even grant you Darisaw. I like Darisaw. Is he a superstar? No. Absolutely not. Not even close. All right, superstar is everybody knows your name. Right? It's Aaron Donald. It's Aaron Rodgers. Is Christian Darisaw that? No. But, I mean, it's such a pathetic situation we're in right now that I could just give that to you because I don't think there's anybody else. Dallas Turner is a rookie. There's nobody on your defensive line who's done a frickin' thing in his life. You've got Byron Murphy and a Caleb Evans at corner, who are both terrible. You got Josh Metellus, who's terrible. Maybe Andrew Booth can play one of these years and do something ever. I don't know. So far, he's done nothing. I mean, the closest thing to a superstar on your defense would be Harrison Smith. And Harrison Smith hasn't been anything resembling a superstar since 2019. So, no, 35-year-old Harrison Smith is not a current superstar. Dude hasn't even been good since 2021. So, young superstars, plural is a stretch. Superstar is a stretch. You have, I would say, 3 good young players with a maybe in Addison. But if we're calling Addison a superstar or a potentially someday superstar, the Packers have 5 superstars just at wide receiver. And I'm not going to be stupid enough to say something like that. I mean, literally, I just said 5 off the top of my head to be funny. There were 5 wide receivers that graded out higher than Jordan Addison. Bo Melton, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, and Christian Watson. The only Packers wide receivers who graded out lower were Malik Heath and Samori Toure. So no, Jordan Addison doesn't come anywhere near the word superstar. He has to work his way up to being competent, decent, good. We got people that want Christian Watson off the team, and he's significantly better than Jordan Addison. Romeo Doubs is relegated to being a backup. He's better than Jordan Addison. So, anyways, and then as far as key positions, I mean, wide receiver, I suppose, would be a key position. Quarterback, no. Tackle, yeah. Edge, no. Defensive tackle, no. Cornerback, no. So I don't know about that. Second bullet point. No veteran win now window. I don't know what that even has to do with anything. I mean, I understand maybe being excited that we don't have this like short-term window. Again, the Packers just went through that. It's stressful and borderline annoying when we had Rodgers and the situation where we're making unwise decisions, number one, and then also you feel like everything's about to be over. But I will say, win now is nice because you're in a situation where you expect to win, as opposed to the current Vikings situation, which is we don't have any good players. We've got a, I guess, superstar wide receiver. We got some good tackles, and that's about it. That's about it. So, I mean, I guess I understand not wanting to be in a win now window and the fact that you're not, but that's not a reason to be excited about this team in terms of the team itself. It's just a thing that I didn't like that's not here anymore. No bad contract drama. Okay. I mean, again, that's nice, right? There's a lot of things that were annoying before and it's gone now, but that's not answering the question of why are you excited about this particular football team and what they can do. I'm not saying what annoying thing that the old guys did you don't have to worry about anymore. Tell me about the guys you have and why you're excited about them presumably winning football games, winning Super Bowls. Do you have anything like that? The only thing I've heard so far is superstar thing, which is not true. Third bullet point. The head coach and GM don't hate each other. Again. I mean, I get that you had a lot of frustrations with the way things were going before, but I just feel like if you're going to be excited about a football team, it should be the actual football team that you have. Next bullet point. The head coach and quarterback don't hate each other. Yeah, okay. Next bullet point. Top 5 offense. Top 5. Bro, you understand Minnesota last year ranked 23rd on offense? And I know you didn't have Kirk Cousins for a good portion of time. But you don't have him at all this year. Do you have any idea how bad Sam Darnold is? I've heard some rumblings that maybe some Vikings fans are thinking that Sam Darnold is going to like become something in Minnesota, which why would he become something in Minnesota? Are you guys convinced that you have some kind of like quarterback factory going on or something? Is there any evidence whatsoever that you guys have like developed a bunch of quarterbacks at all? Kirk Cousins was good when you paid to acquire him, which is not a good sign to begin with, that you are good at draft and develop when you have to go pay for somebody else's quarterback so that you have one. That's not a great sign. Kind of like when you paid to get Brett Favre. Sounds to me like you have no idea how to acquire and develop talent, at least at the quarterback position, much less pretty much anywhere else. Certainly not at cornerback. It was offensive line for a long time, but you got a couple tackles now, I guess. But I'm really sorry to tell you, you can't have a terrible offense and then lose your quarterback that was one of the only good things about your offense and brag about having a top 5 offense. I mean, you would be lucky to not have a bottom 10 quarterback. You have maybe the worst interior offensive line. You have maybe the worst running back situation. You have probably the worst quarterback situation, just in the NFC North I'm talking about. So offensive line, quarterback, running back, even wide receivers a little rough. I mean, again, you got the one guy who's real good. Outside of that, though, I mean, again, Addison's okay so far. Maybe he takes a big jump. Okay, maybe Jaden Reed does. Maybe Luke Musgrave does. Maybe Tucker Kraft does. Maybe Christian Watson does. Maybe. You want to play the maybe game with the youngest team in football? You're not going to win that game. There is nothing that can get you anywhere near top 5. I mean, just from let's take all the information we know and try to come up with a rational argument. There's nothing. Even if you told me J.J. McCarthy was going to have a great rookie year, I don't care. Do you know where Houston ranked last year? Houston ranked 14th, and they had C.J. Stroud and 2 top-tier wide receivers. You're not cracking top 5. This is stupid nonsense. And again, I know most Vikings fans don't think this way, but I just, you You're just going to throw the red meat at me? Insanely aggressive downhill defense. Look, as a fan base that has probably overhyped the fact that their defense is going to be aggressive, who gives a crap? Who gives a crap? An aggressive defense. Aggressive doesn't mean good. You don't have good players on your defense. I'm not saying there's none, but I mean, to be honest, I would struggle to find another team that has such a lack of just top tier talent, like anywhere on this defense. Who is the elite football player on this defense? There's none. There's none. According to PFF, the best player on this defense, as far as their PFF grade last year, would be Blake Cashman. He had an 82 PFF grade. However, prior to that, his best was, well, actually the only other time he's played enough snaps to be considered a starter, he ranked 73rd with a 49 PFF grade. After that would be rookie undrafted free agent Ivan Pace, who had a 77 PFF grade. Then you have Jonathan Grenard, who ranked 30th as a pass rusher. The year before, he ranked 73rd. Cam Bynum had a 73 grade. He ranked 22nd. The year before that, he was 68th. A lot of these guys are very up and down. 78, 58, 73. Who knows what next year is going to be? Either way, there's not a single player that would be like an elite player. Best corner? I mean, your two boundary guys, you have Byron Murphy, who ranked 87th, and a Caleb Evans, who ranked 99th. Aggressive downhill? Who gives a crap? By the way, your defense, as far as I can tell, at least from what everybody else was talking about in terms of what the heck was happening, the claim was that your defense kind of got figured out, and it just became a joke. The Vikings defense got picked apart down the stretch. Beyond that, the fact that it's insanely aggressive and downhill, not only does it not mean it's not, that it's good, half the league has an aggressive downhill defense, and a good portion have the exact same scheme as what you're running. It's not like you have some unique stranglehold on a specific... I mean, he comes from a system, and that system is employed in other places. And if it's not exactly that, it's very similar all over the place. I mean, he came from New England. Do you think he invented that defense? He learned that defense. And guess what? The Packers have an aggressive downhill defense now. The Bears take a lot of pride in their defense with having a defensive head coach and everything else. Lions, I don't know what they got going on. I don't think they care about defense, to be honest. Just like score more points. That being said, you're probably going to have the worst defense in the NFC North because you have the worst players on the defense of any team in the NFC North. And I hate the Bears football team and their defense. But you know what? The Bears have Montez Sweat. Is he overrated by Bears fans? Yeah, probably. Is he better than anybody you have off the edge? I think he is. They have Jalen Johnson. Now, did he have a flukish year last year? Did he probably get overpaid and is going to regress? Yeah. Is he better than every corner you have? Yes, he is. Next bullet point. Elite teams in third phase. I mean, we're getting to the point of like Bears fans bragging about how elite the punter is that they drafted. Kind of stupid. I mean, again, he's said nothing so far. Superstars is fake. And then he goes on to a bunch of bad stuff that doesn't exist anymore. Then he says top 5 offense, which is just a blatant lie. Then he says the defense is aggressive, but, not good. Now we're bragging about how elite the special teams is. Special teams that PFF ranked 18th last year. What exactly is elite about your special teams? Is the answer nothing at all? Actual elite special teams would include the Chargers, 91 PFF grade, the Seahawks, 91, the Saints, 90, the Chiefs, 90. You could also include the Eagles, 89, and the Jets, 89 if you like. Heck, the Bengals, 89, 88.7. Throw in Tennessee if you want, 87. But Minnesota, 18th with a 79 grade. I'm not sure that's elite. Final note, positive, winning, we before me culture in the building. Again, Packer fan, I get it. We're hyping up stupid stuff like culture and, less toxic. And that stuff does matter, right? Down the stretch, Joe Barry lost the locker room. I think it sounds like the strength and conditioning coach teams or the guys were not happy with. You start seeing some disgruntled people. It's kind of a problem. Now we kind of start over. It starts fresh. Maybe some of this is fake. Everybody kind of got it out of their system. They come back, and after a few months, they're pissed off again. Who knows? But the point is, I understand what we're talking about in terms of positive winning culture. But first of all, you can't tell me if you go back 5, 6, 7, 8 years, this is the first time the Vikings have not had a positive culture. I never knew the Vikings had a bad culture. I knew Zimmer was kind of an angry D-bag. I knew that. I knew he hated his quarterback. It didn't really materialize into anything, I don't think, negative, but so what? Why are you excited about the Vikings? The only bullet points that actually relate to anything are just fake nonsense. You don't have young superstars and future superstars at key positions. You have maybe one superstar. He is young. He is at a set quasi-key position. You don't have a top 5 offense, and you don't have elite special teams. Those are the only really 3 bullet points that matter, and they're all 3 just flat-out lies. Anyways, why don't we take a break? On the other side of the break, I want to give maybe a little bit more of a measured view of the Vikings. Maybe it's a little unfair. I don't give a crap. I'm just going to tell you what I think. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. We all have smartphones, and we all know they're pretty amazing, but they also can be amazingly distracting, especially when we're around other people. So US Cellular wants us to reset our relationship with our phones by putting down our phones for $5. That's right, a company that sells phones wants us to put down our phones. And to see what we find, learn more at uscellular.com/built for us. In the hobby, it's not easy being a fan of ripping packs or repacks. We get all hyped up thinking we're going to get some high-value Jordan Love card, but with zero transparency on available cards and hit rates, it's all just a shot in the dark. Until now, introducing slab packs from arenaclub.com, the only repack that provides real value, a complete view on all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Now when I buy slab packs on Arena Club, it finally feels like I know what I'm getting. And honestly, the best thing for me and my son is the fact that we're kind of novices into this. When I walk into a card shop with my son, and a card says it costs $40, kind of just taking his word for it that that's a good value. So I appreciate the transparency on grading, as well as just getting excited about seeing what you could potentially get. Right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase by going to arenaclub.com/packdaddy. Wow, that's crazy offer. 10% off a $400 slab pack. That's $40 right there. Anyways, that's arenaclub.com/packdaddy for 10% off your first purchase.
I'm Alex Rodriguez.
And I'm Jason Kelly.
From Bloomberg, this is The Deal. Each week, you'll hear us in conversation with business icons.
This show will explore deal-making across sports, media, and entertainment.
That is a harsh lesson in business.
Sports is not as simple as bringing a bunch of big names together.
I didn't want to do another stomp you out speech.
It opened up so many more doors.
The show is called The Deal.
Listen to The Deal.
Listen to The Deal on Spotify.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
All right, I'm going to get in the headspace of a Minnesota Vikings fan right now, all right? Here's what we're going to do. Look, I'm trying to be as optimistic as I possibly can, but I have some concerns. Let's just say that, okay? I have no choice at this point but to say that we were held back by our quarterback. I don't know if I could personally believe it. Again, if I was a Vikings fan, I would have been a pro Kirk Cousins fan. You know that because I've been hyping the guy up since he's been in Minnesota. This isn't like something I just suddenly said because he's gone. Now all of a sudden I'm a fan. The guy scared the crap out of me, just flat out. But at this point, I have no choice but to be excited about the upside of McCarthy. And the good thing is, you do have the potential of having your own sort of Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love type of a guy. I never really heard McCarthy get hyped up that way, but I saw it when I watched him. maybe it's not super expected. But again, there were two guys that I saw that kind of had those sort of crazy break the pocket, contortion sidearm kind of thing. And it was the two guys that went to the NFC North, unfortunately. So there's optimism there that, who knows, maybe, although it would be better if he got to sit for a while, which I don't think he's going to. I know he's supposed to. He'll sit behind Darnold. But there's a problem there. The problem is Darnold is going to play 3 weeks before Vikings fans start booing at home and chanting, "We want JJ." That's a terrible look. Terrible for your locker room. Terrible for your coaching staff. Terrible for the national narrative. It's just a bad thing, and it's going to happen. It happened in Chicago when they tried to have Fields sit, and there was actually a report. Tyler Dunn just wrote up an article. I didn't really go through it because it's whatever, but it was about Caleb. But he talked to some of the former Chicago Bears coaching staff, and essentially they wanted Fields to sit. Unfortunately, Andy Dalton got hurt. He got forced into it. And essentially the coach was like, nobody was ready. He was so unbelievably far from being ready. But I just cannot envision them having the backbone, the fortitude. It's nothing against Minnesota. It's just teams in general usually don't have this. The Packers did it, but they also had Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if the Packers would have just been like, go ahead, Darnold, you can play for 3 years. I don't think so. I think Jordan Love would have been playing. I don't think McCarthy sits even through this year. I don't know what the plans are. PFF has him as the starting quarterback. Maybe he will be. I don't know. But I know the narrative was McCarthy needs to sit. That wasn't my assessment. That's everybody else's assessment. Fair enough. But again, okay, so maybe the guy can become elite. That'd be cool. I know Jefferson's good. Hawkinson's solid. Like he's a solid tight end. He's not Travis Kelce, but it's fine. We've got tackles. They're relatively young, right? Especially Darisaw. How old is O'Neal? I think he's pretty young, right? He's 28 going on 29 this year. But Darisaw is really young. I'm concerned because we have a horrifically bad interior offensive line and have kind of historically struggled at finding offensive linemen. We drafted Garrett Bradbury at center. That was a disaster. We drafted Ed Ingram at guard. That was an even bigger disaster somehow. We did get fortunate enough to get Darisaw and O'Neal, but by the time we get this interior figured out, if ever, O'Neal's not going to be here. We also spent money to go out and get Aaron Jones, and I have no idea why we did that. It's cool that we got him. Shove it, Packer fans, the whole 9 yards. But what freaking good is that going to do us? This is not our window. I mean, you just heard the most ridiculously overly optimistic. I mean, even Bears fans don't say that level of nonsense. Even that said, we're not in a win now scenario. So why do you have Aaron Jones? No idea. Terrible decision. Shouldn't have done it. Maybe Addison becomes something, and then we've got a 1-2 punch, and that's cool. Defensively, I mean, could try to get hyped up about our defensive coordinator, although last year was a disaster. But we could say, well, maybe that was the players more so than the coach. Coach is great. Everything's going to be fine. The problem is, what do I have to be excited about? I mean, we massively overpaid for Dallas Turner. That trade was a complete disaster, which makes me question my supposed analytics GM, who seems to be the least analytical drafting GM in the entire NFL right now. But okay, we got this guy. We got Turner, the massively high explosion, undersized, speed bend pass rusher. Maybe that'll be a thing. We don't have anybody else. We have no depth off the edge. We have a horrifically bad interior defensive line. Harrison Phillips is a name, but he's not very good at football. Last year, he was horrific. He ranked 65th among defensive tackles. Next to him was Jihad Ward, who's had just a horrific career. I don't know how he has starting jobs every single year, but he ranked 109th out of 112 defensive tackles last year, which is actually pretty standard for what he puts out. Byron Murphy was a second-round pick, and I could try to be excited about that at corner, but the problem is we have a really long track record of first and second-round corners that don't pan out, and beyond that, this is year 6 for him, and he's not been able to be good at stuff. Again, we have a Caleb Evans, who was a 4th-round pick. He's been kind of terrible. We have this other second-round pick that, for whatever reason, can't seem to get on the field. Josh Metellus was a 6th-round pick. He's going to be our slot guy. He hasn't been super great. We have a 36-year-old safety who's been on the downswing for about 5 years now. That is going to be gone soon. Cam Bynum, the other safety, seems to be pretty solid. Look, it's like, okay, so what do we have here? We got some linebackers that might pan out. We have a safety who's not elite, but he might be okay. We desperately need corners. We need defensive tackles. We probably need more edge rushers. Even if Turner turns out to be great, we don't have enough, right? I mean, the Packers had Preston and Rashawn, and they went out and got Lucas Van Ness, right? It's like we got 1 and 2, we need a third. And they got Rashawn when they had 2. Preston Zadarius drafted Rashawn. The thing that bothers me is even if we say this is a long-term thing, we got a lot of work to do. And I'm kind of struggling to see a path because, again, as you know, there's a lot of turnover. And so let's say players have like a 5 or 6 year window, whatever. We can't add pieces slower than we lose them. We have a very small, limited window to fill all these pieces before we start losing guys. O'Neal's going to be gone. Aaron Jones is going to be gone. Hawkinson's already 27. I mean, he's got maybe 3 more years. Harrison Smith is going to be gone. So we have to fill the running back position, the tight end position, the safety position. All that's going to be starting to deteriorate. All the while, we have to get a left guard. We have to get a center. We have to get a right guard. We have to get at least 3 defensive tackles. We have to get at least 1 more edge rusher, assuming Turner pans out. We need 2 corners at a minimum. We need 1 more. It's just a lot, man. I'm trying to think of like what is the most optimistic view here. Well, McCarthy's awesome. Addison takes a big leap. Turner's awesome. And then it's like, okay, we go out and get like a solid defensive tackle. Spend a little money in free agency to kind of patch up this interior offensive line, and we're off to the races, I guess, kind of. Actually, we need corners, but, this is, I mean, it's bleak, man. It just is. And I was impressed with the Vikings last year in terms of their ability to win, despite losing, Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, whatever. They were able to make stuff work. So maybe props to the head coach for being able to get more out of less, so maybe they're not going to need to stack as many pieces, but this is just not a football team right now. This is not a fieldable football team. It's just not. The defense is atrocious. The offensive line is a liability, which is terrible when we're going to throw J.J. McCarthy into this mix, and the protection is going to be questionable. Again, tackles are great, but the interior is rough. I mean, as much as I come down hard on the Bears, it's much easier to see the path for Chicago, right? I mean, the offensive line is serviceable. Cole Kmet is fine. They've got a really good group of wide receivers. If the quarterback is solid, this is going to be a scary offensive line, period. If this is a top 10 quarterback with a more than capable offensive line, a potentially top 10 tight end, maybe the best wide receiver group in football, DeAndre Swift is at least serviceable at running back. I mean, you don't need much of an imagination to get that one figured out. And then, on the defensive side of things, they've got some issues, but they've got at least a number 1 corner. They have at least a pass rusher. They've got some safeties. I mean, Brisker's probably a little overrated by Bears fans, but he's sort of the number 2 behind Kevin Byard, which is not a long-term solution, but there's a football team here. And then, you got linebackers that work. Maybe not the guy that you paid $1 billion to, Tremaine Edmonds, who sucks, but the other 2 are pretty solid. The 2 Wisconsin Badgers. You don't have an interior defensive line, but I mean, it doesn't have to be a perfect football team. I mean, there are the pieces here to be a team. The Lions already had a team, and the Packers already. I mean, those are 2 teams that were already marching through the playoffs. I just can't get there with the Vikings. I can't envision a path that has them like, let's say best case scenario, including the NFC North teams kind of stumble out of the gate or whatever. Can you see a scenario where the Vikings end up winning the NFC North? Can you see them getting into the playoffs and maybe making a put? I can't get there. All right, let's take our final break. That sound good to you? Sounds good to me. We'll be right back.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's peachy.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510 declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Well, I don't really feel like starting something new, so why don't we do this? Why don't we scour a little bit and just keep going? Because I maybe have tapped into this side of Vikings Twitter, and maybe we can start having some fun. I know most Packer fans are more anti-Viking than anti-Bear. I'm the anti-Bear guy, but, because the Vikings have actually been somewhat of a rivalry, it's kind of a thing. Plus, I think the Lions are becoming more of a thing than anything else. So let's go through some of the different things that I've seen now and just kind of see, maybe I missed something, Maybe these Vikings fans are onto something. Let's take a gander. This is from Vikings Nation. The Vikings have filled position vacancies with young and high upside players so far this offseason. The team's goal was to get younger and faster, and that's exactly how things have played out. Super excited for week 1. Do I even need to explain my issue with this? This applies to 32 teams. There is not a single team that came out of free agency in the draft saying, boy, oh boy, I was really hoping we'd be heading in a different direction, but sure enough, we got older and slower. So that sucks. Everybody gets younger and more athletic in the offseason. How about this one? The Vikings have an offensive schemer head coach. That's most NFL teams. Elite pass catchers. You have to drop that S. You don't have elite pass catchers. You have an elite pass catcher. Bookend tackles. Fair enough. A mad scientist defensive coordinator who's leading a defensive rebuild. Calm down. I mean, that's stupid. And financial flexibility. You'll have to excuse me, Vikings fans. I don't give a crap about having lots of money. I don't know if you went through this whole thing about what the Bears did. And I don't mean to insult you and say that you're as stupid as the Bears are, but money can't win you championships, okay? You have to actually do something with it. And then he says, some rookie quarterback is about to hit the jackpot. This is obviously prior to the draft, but still. And well, I don't know. Never mind. I'm not going to relitigate it, but it's what freaking jackpot. Purple FTW is back. Said a couple days ago, the Vikings are one of the youngest teams in the league. If they played their cards right, this nucleus could stay together and win together for a decade. Conversely, they could stay together and suck together for a decade. Also, it should be noted, the actual youngest team in the league is the Packers, and they already went to the playoffs. So, I mean, listen, Packer fans can play this card. You can't. Being young doesn't mean anything. If you have a bunch of young players that suck at football, that's not really a good thing. You kind of maybe even want to get some older players that can actually play football. You know what I mean? Spend some of that money, go find somebody that doesn't suck and plug them in. But when you're really young and the players are actually really good, like we have a really young, really good quarterback and really young, really good tackles, and Elton is also quite good, and a really young, talented running back, and really young, really good wide receivers, and really young, talented tight ends, and really young, talented, at least pass rusher, possibly pass rushers. We'll see what Lucas Van Ness can become, and a really young, talented pass rushing defensive tackle in Wyatt, and really young corners, at least one of them being quite good in Jair, and really young safeties like Xavier McKinney, who's one of the best in football and really young, and also we drafted 3 of them in the draft. So being really young and talented is exciting because this core will continue on for a long time and be successful. You just have a pile of youth that's not good at football that maybe will not suck one day. So, sorry, I'm not giving you that one. This one cracks me up. Bears fans do this all the time. All the time. Here's what it says. Imagine having a core of rookie quarterback Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Christian Darrisaw, and O'Neal on offense. Then Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Can Ginkle, it's supposed to be Van Ginkle, Ivan Pace, Blake Cashman, Josh Metellus, Caleb Evans, and Mekhi Blackman on defense. Then $130 million in cap space. I mean, I can imagine it. I don't know why you're asking me to imagine it, though. What do I do now that I've imagined it? Like, imagine having Bob and Steve and your cousin Frank and Jim, like, in your backyard. Okay, what about it? Grenard is Van Ginkle? Give me a break. Ivan Pace? Maybe. Cashman? Metellus? Don't care. Evans? Kind of garbage. Mekhi Blackman? Not good. Why are you just listing names? This is, again, Bears fans do this all the time. They'll grab like 3 good players and then just list like 7 more and be like, bro, loaded. And the national media does that crap all the time. They won't do it to the Vikings. They do it to the Bears. Like Justin Fields and DJ Moore and then they'll list all these people and it's like, well, Fields is garbage and like, okay, Moore is good, but you just listed all their offensive linemen and none of them are good. Like, why are you just saying names? I don't understand. Rookie quarterback. What does that mean? Justin Jefferson's very good. Jordan Addison, mid. Hawkinson, pretty good. Darrisaw, real good. O'Neal, solid. Okay? I mean, listen, you listed legitimately 1, 2, 3, 4 players that are solid. How many NFL teams don't have 4 good players on their offense? The Bears have, potentially 3 just at wide receiver. I think the Lions might have more than that on their offensive line. So again, why am I imagining this? Come on, man. You listed like 4 really good players, a bunch of mid to terrible players, and are like, bro, imagine that. And then $130 million in cap space, which that's another thing that annoys me, and I haven't looked into it, and I don't care. Whenever people look at like a year or 2 years from now, and they're like, oh, we're going to have so much cap space. Everybody has $1 billion in cap space. You know why? Because a lot of contracts end. But guess what? You're going to be paying these. They're not leaving. Like, let me just pull it up. Well, hilariously, the Vikings in 2025 are actually only scheduled right now to have $85 million. So I don't know where the hell 130 is coming from. But that assumes that we're not paying Sam Darnold, Harrison Smith, Byron Murphy, Aaron Jones, Harrison Phillips, Shaquille Griffin, Justin Jefferson? Is that real? Bro, you ain't going to have anywhere near Tillery, Bullard, Powell, Mullins, Munt, Feeney, Queston. I can go. There's 30 names here. Some of them are going to be gone. A lot of them are not. You have to pay them. Some of them, specifically one of them, a lot of money. You don't have $130 million. You don't have $85 million. You might have a decent chunk of money, but this is fake. This is fake. Not, and then you can go to like, 2026. Let's see, what do we got in 2026? Did you know the Packers in 2025 have $67 million in free cap space? Did you know in 2026 they have $122 million? And guess what? In 2027, they have $237 million in cap space. We're going to buy the whole league. Or, conversely, the reason we have $237 million is because there's only about 10 people that have contracts through 2027. And this is stupid. So stop it. So again, most of the players you listed are not that good, and you do not have $130 million in cap space. I don't know who told you that. Actually, I can see it right here. Per Seifert ESPN, the Vikings are on track to have $135 million in 2025 cap space and on track to be top 5 in the NFL teams with most cap space. Okay, first of all, you will not have $135 million in cap space. Second of all, if you had $135 million, you would not be top 5. You would be number 1 by a pretty thick margin. You got the question posed by somebody, are the Vikings in the worst position in the NFC North as of today? And then somebody responded, we're really not. Don't get too blinded by a season full of season-ending injuries. We smoked Green Bay and Lambeau without Justin Jefferson. The future of the team is bright. We have young talent. Just continue to make good signings and hit on draft picks. Okay, almost none of that answers the question. This is what I don't like. People just say stuff, and it's like, you didn't make a case. Are the Vikings in the worst position of the NFC North? He says no. Okay. Don't get blinded by injuries. Okay. Not blinded by injuries. Okay. Make the case now. We smoked Green Bay and Lambeau without Justin Jefferson. So what? So what? Do you know how many times really terrible teams beat really good teams? That doesn't make them better than anything. The future of the team is bright. Okay. That's an assertion. We have young talent. So does everybody. Just continue to make good signings and hit on draft picks. None of this says anything. But congratulations on beating the Green Bay Packers before the Packers got out of their slump. Before Jordan Love turned on the Jets and figured out how to play football. Which, by the way, when that happened and you got Justin Jefferson back, the Vikings lost 33-10.
Well, we didn't have Kirk Cousins.
Well, you still don't. Ever again, by the way. So you better hope your new rookie quarterback is better than Nick Mullins, because if he's not, you're going to be seeing a lot of 30-10s, even with Justin Jefferson on the team. Oh, and of course, elite Jordan Addison, 3 catches, 28 yards. Purple FTW. I'm going to have to, subscribe and just hit the old little notification thing for this guy, because he is pumping this stuff out 24/7. I think he's doing this for engagement, to be honest. He says, I know it's in Vikings fans' DNA to default negative, but this has been a fantastic offseason for the Vikings so far. Again, with the bullet points. Didn't overpay Kirko. Okay. I mean, look, I can give you half credit for that. I mean, the Vikings made a no-brainer decision that they should have done 5 years ago. They kept doing this. And it's like, we're not going to do it next year. And then next year, they're like, okay, Kirk, how about we give you a 2-year, whatever. He's like, nah, 1 year fully guaranteed. Well, we didn't really want to do that, Kirk. Like, well, then, I'll just leave. Okay, Kirk, we'll just pay you the 1 year fully. That's fine. Dude had you over a barrel for years, and finally you did what needed to be done. I mean, wow, round of applause. Darnold is a bridge quarterback at best, not the future, dummies. I don't know what that has anything to do with, I know you guys are negative, but this has been a fantastic offseason. And he says, Darnold is a bridge quarterback at best. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of a crappy backup quarterback, but okay. Yeah, great offseason so far. Anyways, Flores is building the front seven he wants. Dude hasn't built anything. What are you talking about? You lost really talented pieces and brought in less talented pieces, and then you drafted a tiny guy that you hope is just going to be able to fly around the edge and get a bunch of sacks. I mean, he's not building it. There's nothing there. But okay, I mean, Flores is very slowly building the defensive front he wants by quasi-drafting, giving up way too much compensation to draft a guy, and he's the only guy you have. I mean, you go ahead and be excited about Grenard if you want, but I don't give a crap about him, not even a little bit. He says, Aaron Jones is a huge upgrade over Madison, and it's still Ty Chandler's show. Okay. Aaron was a stupid signing because it makes no sense. He is a very limited running back who is on a pitch count because he can't handle a lot, has an extensive injury history, is in the final years of his career, and you are nowhere near even sniffing the playoffs this year. So what the heck was the point of that? He's an upgrade over Madison. Yeah, so? So what? It was a stupid decision. He says, plenty of more cap to supplement other needs. Again, with the money thing. Bro, we're going to be so good. Why? Because we got money. Okay, well, you can't buy wins, so I don't know what you're talking about. And as far as how many like elite players are just floating around waiting for contracts, the number is roughly 0. It's funny because it says plenty of more cap space to supplement other needs. Corner, interior defensive line, interior offensive line. Well, that is a good point. You do have a lot of other needs that need to be filled. Unfortunately, nobody out there right now. So he says, thanks to Kwesi and Burrs, whoever that is, clearing contracts the last 3 years, which again, probably necessary, right? This is something that needed to happen for a long time. It finally happened. Congratulations. But, I mean, look, there's a difference between being excited about this amazing team in this great offseason or whatever, and like finally just doing the responsible thing and blowing it up. It takes some guts. Congratulations. Kwesi did that. He blew it up. Finally. Now what? Now we wait and see if this thing can be rebuilt, I guess. But there's nothing to be excited about right now. Another tweet. This offseason feels a lot like the 2014 offseason, when the Vikings moved off Jared Allen in favor of a younger Everson Griffin and added young players before their prime to become the core of the future. This is exciting times, people. I mean, this is... Okay, look, I don't understand being excited before anything even happens. It's like, this reminds me of that time when we got rid of old players and then brought in guys that were really, really good. Why? Well, because we got rid of old players. Okay, what about the second part? Well, I mean, probably, you know. I mean, you got rid of Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin, who you mentioned, right? I mean, it's been a while, but let's just say, I mean, that was a really scary duo. So they're gone, and who are the young guys that came in now? You mean that one guy you drafted in a really weak edge class that you overpaid for that was certainly not the consensus top edge rusher, which will be coming up shortly? That's like the Jared Allen to Everson Griffin switch that you're talking about? You're talking about Kirk Cousins to J.J. McCarthy before J.J. McCarthy takes a single freaking snap in the NFL? I mean, I understand that there are some parallels, but the only real parallel is the part where everything got blown up. The part that's missing is where anything good happened ever. Okay. I mean, as a Packer fan who, again, youngest team in the league, with guys that have played and have proven to be very good at football, Jordan Love, who in the second half of the year, once it clicked, was arguably the best quarterback in the entire NFL. And even still, me and at least half of the fan base are hemming and hawing going, yeah, we'll see. The Vikings took a stick of dynamite, blew up the team, have just massive holes everywhere, drafted a couple guys, and are like, bro, young superstars everywhere, bro. These guys are going to be together forever. No, they're probably not, because a lot of these guys are going to be gone soon because they suck and they're going to be replaced. We just got to figure out which ones those are. Here we go. This is from The Purple Perspective. It's on the old Twitters. Waking up and realizing the Vikings came away from last night with a franchise quarterback, the best pass rusher in the NFL draft, still hold their 2025 first-round pick, and have loads of cap space coming on the way in 2025 and beyond. Bro, you have no idea how much cap space you're going to have in 2025, and you definitely don't know about beyond. We got to see. Got to see who gets what contracts and how they're structured and who gets let go. And there's a lot of stuff to figure out. No idea, actually, how much cap space you're going to have. Okay? You also have no idea if you came away with a franchise quarterback. You have no idea if you got the best pass rusher in the draft. He might have been the first pass rusher in the draft, but he was not a unanimous consensus best pass rusher in the draft. I pegged him as the best pass rusher, mostly because his vert was through the roof, and there's a high correlation between that and success, as far as like the 40 time, all that stuff. I think it was the vert, maybe not. I'm pretty sure. That one was like extremely important, and he had like a record-breaking vert. So I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. That guy's, he'd probably be pretty good. But zero consensus, and I don't think any of these pass rushers got a ton of excitement. The only one that seemed to get a ton of excitement is the guy who medically retired. Still hold their 2025 first-round pick. Why are you bragging about that? Bro, I don't even believe it. Can you believe the Packers still came away with a 2025 first? What, you mean they got another one? No, I mean like the one that they were scheduled to have next year that's still there. We didn't give it away or anything. Crazy, right? Yeah, super great. Congrats, man. That's, wow, you guys are great. Here's one. The Vikings team now isn't anything like the 2023 Vikings. Judging your opinion on this year's team based on last year's performance, which was very fluky, is just going to bite you. The Minnesota Vikings are a very talented organization from the top down. Again, a lot of assertions. I don't know what you're talking about, though. The Vikings team isn't anything like the 2023 Vikings. I think that's probably fair. That's true of most teams. Judging your opinions on this year's team based on last year's performance is going to bite you. I mean, yeah, probably, because a lot of stuff has changed. What does that have to do with being good, though? And he says the Vikings are a very talented organization from the top down. Based on what? GM doesn't seem to be doing a very good job in my estimation. A lot of the draft picks have been really bad. The trades have been horrific. You have no idea if you have a quarterback that can even play at a below average level. I don't want to go through the whole thing again, but you can't say top down when there's holes everywhere. I mean, actual holes as in it's not even debatable. This sucks, that sucks, and this sucks. Then you've got major question marks at pretty critical positions like, I don't know, quarterback. Why would you make a sweeping statement about just how good the Vikings are going to be? This one's funny because it's actually from January 10th of 2023. But it's funny because, again, it's the same kind of rhetoric, and we can now see with a little bit of hindsight here. The Vikings have their quarterback of the future, top 5. By the way, who's the quarterback of the future? The guy that keeps getting one-year contracts that everyone knows is going to be gone soon? Or what are we talking about here? Top 1 wide receiver. Okay, fair enough. Top 2 tight end. Nope. Top 3 running back. Never. Top 3 offensive line. Way off. And a top 5 defense. No. Safe to say we're building the next NFL dynasty. Literally 1 year later, they blew up the whole team and are starting from scratch. And then there's this, which is the only one that I tend to agree with. This is Adam Patrick, editor for Fansided, covering the Vikings for The Viking Age. He wrote this January 14th, 2024. Even if Kirk Cousins re-signs with them this offseason, the Vikings are still probably only the 4th best team in the NFC North in 2024. The division is looking stacked, and it's only going to get better with all the young players leading the way. That is correct. Not top comment in terms of likes, because it had 0 likes, but the top comment that I can read says, "Are you aware the Bears are in the division?" I wish I could agree with that. I just can't. Now, it all comes down to quarterback. If Caleb is garbage and JJ is good, the Vikings will be better than the Bears. It's going to happen. Well, maybe the defense, I don't care. I don't care. So that's what it's going to come down to is the quarterbacks. Now, I still don't think the Vikings will be able to compete with the Packers because even if they have a good quarterback, that means, well, their quarterback probably still isn't as good as Love. They're not going to have as good of a defense. They're not going to have as good of anything, really. So it's not going to matter. But they'll be better than the Bears if the Bears don't have a quarterback. But again, there's nothing here. And again, I know this isn't most Vikings fans. Completely understand that. But it felt good to find a pile of them that are just saying nonsense. So we could just be very clear about the Vikings. This is a bad football team. They have too many holes. And it's going to be very difficult, again, to fill all of those holes. All the while, obviously, losing pieces along the way. But we'll see how it goes. It all starts with the quarterback. If JJ can play, then, maybe we got something. If not, it's over. I don't know what to tell you. All right, I'm out of here. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.